Hi everyone, this is Allan McKay. This is episode 37. I'm doing a roundtable with myself, Sol Rogers, Hnedel, Maximore, and Chad Wanstreet, and a lot of booze, so get ready.
Welcome to the Allan McKay Podcast. Allan is an Emmy Award-winning visual effects artist and mentor to many leading industry experts. Listen in as Allan talks with other industry leaders in film, video games, and visual effects about their experience, lessons, and methodology. Allan will teach you pivotal advice to fast-track your career, better your skills, and reach your ultimate dream job. Check out the latest episodes on AllanMcKay.com.
Hey everyone, this is Allan McKay. I am here, or I should say I'm doing an episode from a couple of days ago. Decided to rush this one in here just because I had a fun opportunity. My buddy Sol Rogers from the UK, who was in episode 24, talking about virtual reality, augmented reality, and everything in between. Really cool. As well as Chad Wanstreet, which was episode 18. So I decided to round everyone up and have some fun, just doing a bit of a very random, very not planned roundtable with a few close friends. Now, I will say that none of us had really planned this. It was very much on a whim. And I remember 10 a.m. that day, Sol and I decided, since it was the long weekend, to go down to Venice Beach and have a nice cold beer on the beach in the sun. And that led to more beers, and then eventually going to one of the rooftop bars and having cocktails. And then literally about 20 minutes before we were meant to meet up with everyone, rushing back quite drunk and continuing to have more beers over the session. So, probably not our finest form, or at least definitely not me, but it was a lot of fun, very random, and there's a lot of great information and very unfiltered, lots of swearing and everything in between. So enjoy. And I hope you get a lot from it, and I'm sure we're all going to be embarrassed to hear this. One last thing I wanted to mention is, so at least for everyone in LA, there's industry drinks this Friday coming up. So that is Friday I can't believe I have to actually check, the 29th of May. And that will be, if you go to www.allanmckay.com/drinks, you can sign up and get information as to where the industry drinks events are hosted. So this one, again, is in Santa Monica at King's Head. And also, one thing I've got coming up in June, I think it's around June 15 or June 17, is the first reel review that we'll be doing. So I'm teaming up with Todd Sheridan Perry to look at reviewing a lot of people's reels. So you can submit your reels. I'll be posting more information about this around the first week of June. As well as a domain that for now and it'll officially be held at. This again is something more free-for-all and fun, but it'll be a chance for you to check that out. So if you want, go to www.allanmckay.com/reel review. So REEL review, one word, and you can sign up for more info about that. I'll be posting more information early June, and that will be a monthly event. There's other stuff coming up, but already I don't want to kind of overcomplicate things, so I will be announcing a online webinar I want to do, probably a series of them actually, on more of a career intensive webinar, which I'll be able to interact with a lot of you and give career advice. I might bring other people on as well. I think it'll be a great chance just to get to interact with a lot of people, as well as talk about ways you can impact your career more, hit your goals, that sort of thing. So I'm looking forward to that. That will be announced soon. Still a little hungover, I swear. And there'll be more information about that. But in the meantime, industry drinks are May 29. So that's allanmckay.com/drinks. And the real review will be June 17. So that's allanmckay.com/real review, one word. Okay, let's get in and let the information and embarrassment begin. Anyway, cheers again.
Cheers.
But, alright, so Chad Wanstreet, Hnedel, Maximore, Sol, Rogers. I was just going to make you Madonna, just like one name.
I'll take it.
I like it because he sounds like a superhero, or like Star Wars or something. It's like Buck Rogers, or...
I would have loved to meet Buck Rogers.
I didn't notice...
Diddly.
I didn't notice on... I've been watching Daredevil on Netflix, and
I haven't seen that yet.
what's his friend's name in it? It's like
Foggy.
Foggy
yeah,
Nelson.
and then
Yeah.
Bucky, and suddenly it makes me want to look up like has every single superhero got like a friend who's named like Bucky, Foggy, Timmy, Bucky, I don't know, like
Bad sidekick.
yeah, because there are actually a lot of similarities. I have noticed that like everyone, I forget Matthew Murdock is
That's his like normal name.
yeah, and like typically they're all double digits, or not double digits, double initials, with everything. So it wouldn't surprise me if there's that kind of formulaic approach to like building characters. It's like
Sidekick names.
Yeah.
It's like your porn star name. What is it? Like you take your street name from when you were a kid, and then
street
and your
name,
pet's
and then
your pet's name.
and
Pets
your
first
street
name or
name.
like yeah.
so
What's
mostly
yours,
like
Allan?
Outlook Spring.
Mine was Foxy Lake, which is awesome, right?
Alexander Cabral.
Firefish Bancroft. That's a very different thing. Daredevil's been good.
Not even 1 minute in, we're using porn star names.
Real time. But I binge watched like most of Daredevil recently, and I know you've
So
been
did
watching
I.
a lot as
Yeah.
well. And I
Or
I'm-
6 a.m. like Daredevil.
that and like most of Game of Thrones. I was always thinking about like do you think it's like affected our industry on how people now consume it in such high doses? It's not.
You mean Netflix, like the way they deliver? Or?
just in general. Like I don't
binge
watch a
watch.
show.
Oh.
I don't- even like watching a movie, like it's like 1 or 2 hours. That's not enough for me now. I want 4 or 5 hours, and I want that last like 2 a.m. Okay, I just watch one more just before bed.
That's what
You know.
Lord of the Rings was made for.
I nearly did
9
it.
hours.
Last
And then you
weekend.
can watch the other ones. I mean, this is
Fellowship of the Ring, I'm like, an extended edition, and I'm like, am I committing to this? I'm like, it's too much of a commitment, I'm moving on. But I've done that, like, there'd be times where we were watching Lost, and I was addicted to the show, just because they promised to answer questions, and they never did, or they did it badly, but there was that whole issue where, I'd be like, okay, I'm gonna go clean for a few weeks, so that way I've got like 3 episodes back to back, instead of like, my best friend and I would have the text we'd send each other, fuck you, Lost. Because every episode, it's like, alright, we gotta move the island. It's like, okay, end of scene. It's like, fuck you, Lost. You're moving the goddamn island now? Like, god damn it. But I did a 24. Like, when I finished on Blade, I went back to Australia, took a few months off, and I ultimate binged. I did 24 season 1, 2, 3, and 4.
Whoa.
Yeah.
a
So
lot of
that's
TV.
like 96.
I think 24 was the first time when I really got into watching telly like that. Though.
Mm-hmm.
Like you could catch up with that first box set on a DVD or whatever else.
It was a new model.
And
like,
every time the end of the show came, you're like, oh, you so and so. The hook was so
so-and-so.
big to watch the next one.
Yeah.
So big.
you so and so.
I was trying to be polite. You're in America. You're not allowed to
What's
swear
I'll-
on here.
I'll open it up.
What's Captain America?
Don't worry.
What is it? Swearing white guy?
I swear it's my thing. I'm like the Andrew Dice Clay of VFX.
Do you want to mention that? You were talking with, NPC guys about... Well, no, sorry.
No,
they were talking overview.
Yeah, a friend of mine happened to go over there and said, somebody there said to him, do you know Chad? I was like, Chad. And he goes, white guy, swears a lot. It's like, oh yeah, I know that guy.
I like that.
There's worse things to be known for.
Well, I think all of that's because of the angry polys thing, where it's like,
Yeah, it really gives name to it now.
Motherfucker.
It's
Yeah.
like...
The angry polys thing.
I have a YouTube channel where like I teach, and I actually do it on Twitch, and
Yeah.
my tag name is Angry Polys, because I'm always like fucking Max, fucking ZBrush, whatever it is, like It's,
But that's kind of the reality of everything, right? It's not always so smooth.
yeah,
So
yeah, and that's kind of the
Oh, it's
point.
not- it's
Chad
smooth.
keeps it real.
But now it's so much smoother than where we were before. Like, give it like 5 years ago, you couldn't like move something without knowing it was going to crash. You're like, I'm just going to try and select this thing. Fingers crossed it doesn't crash. I'm going to save. It might crash when I'm saving. I'm going to do this. It was so fragile, everything. Even now, like, it's got a little bit more robust, but there's still times you go, this is probably going to break.
It's kind of bad when you know that, like, you actually know. It's like a feeling you have that Max will crash. Like, you're at a point you're like, all right,
Because things are going well.
yeah.
Yeah.
You had a good run of it.
Yeah.
Oh my
If
God,
I
I've
go
been
to
here
the
for 4
modify
hours.
panel, if I move an object, or if I go to the old file menu before they changed it, like it'll crash So I'm gonna have to do a hotkey save.
Yep.
That's the only way we can get back from this.
Have you ever done I think it's where you like screenshot the window just so you can have a look at the layout of like like this is what I've got it to be now. I know it's probably going to crash and like it might be dying, but
it's like
at least
drawing
I'll be able to look what it was supposed to look like, and I'll build it again.
Drawing a map before you jump off a waterfall. It's like, okay, at least now I know the layout if I need to get back here again.
I'll build it twice as fast next time, but you know.
I hate that. I hate
anytime you hear that. Do it twice as fast.
My second reel I ever did, I actually went to college for it just so I could use the lab, and I just stayed at the lab, and the whole purpose was to make a good reel, and I built it all. It was right there, and they were closing down for the holidays. I came back and they'd wiped everyone's folders while I was gone, and I'm like, I literally spent 6 months making this goddamn reel, and the guy is just like, oh, you make it twice as fast next time. I'm like 14 and like ready to kill someone and get charged as a minor. I'm like, thank you. But
I've said that enough times to students of mine over the years. Just like, well, you know, it's a practice thing. You're supposed to learn about it. Like, oh, my USB broke or my hard drive died. I'm like, have you got it backed up? And they're like, no. I'm like, well, it's a learning exercise. You will next time, but you can just feel when it
builds character.
Flips or smash something over.
Yeah, builds a vein in your forehead.
It's fragile. You've got no choice about it. You know.
Pulses.
That's how Dr. Evil is made. You know, it's like a fucking file crashed. Now it's here with the
and
world.
with students, whatever they made before is shit anyway. They've got to make it again. They're learning, so every time they make it, they will make it better. It takes a while to hit the curve. Like once you get up on the plateau, you know this is probably the visual quality I've got.
Then you get to like our point where it's just everything kind of.
Oh no, then you become really good at spreadsheets, managing other people to do stuff. I need more talented other people to make.
Good at making art, and then Excel and PowerPoint. Pretty sweet. Shotgun. Like shotgun.
You learned Maya for 10 years just to learn Excel for 1 year.
They came in to try me sell my shotgun last week actually. I had a whole for like big pitch and like, oh, you guys really need it. I'm like, no, we don't. No. We don't make a lot of VFX work. We do all this stuff. They're like, yeah, we can convert it. It'll work with you. I'm like, will it? It doesn't seem like it's set up for me. Or maybe they just want to build a bunch of templates for me.
Shotgun's cool, but like the thing about shotgun being so flexible is the fact that everyone can make shotgun their own thing. So like every studio you go to,
That's
you
what
pretty
they
much
say.
Well, no. I'm saying it's both a positive and negative. But like any studio you go to, people will say, "Do you know shotgun?" And it's just like, well, it's a paradox. Like I do know it, but I don't know how you use it, and it's going to be completely different to the next person. So, you know, it changes drastically, and
that's why I like to use Google Docs.
I swear.
No, seriously though, they're like
I'm dead serious. I love Google Docs.
Well, it works for my studio's like 25 people, so that's enough. You set a bunch of them off, make a doc, everyone logs in, it's just a posh Gantt chart, puts everyone notes in it, and it just works. There isn't anything complex, there isn't any weird stuff behind it, there's no big database. But I don't know whether moving to a whole kind of big database driven kind of thing like Shotgun will actually make any difference to our day to day, other than making it probably a little bit neater on the end and whatever else.
It's great for coordinators and it's great for producers, but for artists, because we had that on Destiny, like for artists to be updating Shotgun, I find it slows things down. And our Aussie friend, I think it's Tom or something, I can't remember his name, nice guy, but like when we were doing Destiny, I did everything in Excel, in Google Docs actually, just because I can copy paste. I had my little colored icons of approved, waiting for approval, simming, rendering, not started, and I can just copy paste, and I've done that forever. And for me, I can manage a lot of shit. And I had this one guy who was very much like, no, you got to put it in all in Shotgun. And we're all, especially at the very end, like just killing ourselves to get shit done. So you can't stop what you're doing when you've got 6 shots. Like, at least for me at the time, having him come and ask me meant I forgot the 7 things that I've got in my head that I'm trying to,
juggle.
So, not to be a dick, but that was when I went to Armando, and I'm like, okay, this guy's really adamant about me putting stuff in a Shotgun, so can you please tell him he's now assigned to me to put my shit in a Shotgun from my Excel sheet? And it became like, he basically had to work himself, but like, for me, like when you're managing yourself, like you need that stuff down there, because like if someone said, what's the status of something, you got too much in your head, but you can look at a sheet and be like, all right, according to this, I have that rendering on the farm, so I'll go check. But
just a simple color code system. Red, green,
Grey means
There you
it's
go.
fucked. And
Nothing.
Red means it's fucked.
Red, it's on its way. Green means it's done. You try and
Yep.
turn the sheet green. You go through the shots, lay it
That's
out
right.
there.
But for an artist, all of that shit should be automated. I mean, there's no reason that like when you send a render shotgun, you shouldn't be able to pick it up and then I don't ever want to log into it. It is great for coordinators and all that stuff, and as a supervisor, but I don't want my artists to ever have to open
But
it.
that's why you need a
Does it all
bridge.
pick up for the artist? They don't do anything.
No, not yet. That's what we're trying to set up.
That's why you need a bridge for, like Mango, something like that. Something
Yeah.
that plugs in
Yeah,
and
exactly.
makes it,
Yeah.
Because I think in my head, shotgun is great. And it is a I wouldn't say a necessary evil. I think it's a necessity. But it doesn't solve your problem. It's basically a database.
Yeah.
So it's more about building something that connects to
It's
it.
just a list.
And I've worked at a few studios that does have shotgun automated. So when you do submit a render, it does update. And when so the supervisor knows, or the lead on the shot knows to review those renders when deadline has marked it as complete or whatever status. So it's just a matter of if you have tool writers in-house that can write those tools, and
It's those tool writers.
but
Or at house.
Yeah.
But no, it's good. I mean,
Wait.
you'd even do idle time. So it's like this guy was away from his desk for 15 minutes.
yeah,
You can, yeah.
There's a whole bunch
How
of
many
that.
toilet breaks do you have?
It's a bit much. I mean, it's turning the whole industry into, a shotgun can be a centralized system. It's just trying to run your whole thing as a big machine with all the cogs turning together. But it's really hard to make that perfect because I think the industry we're in is ever adapting and changing shape. But either the tools are or the deliverables are changing, whatever else. Some of the stuff stays the same of people making things, someone approving it. But everything else is in flux. And once you make I've got it, it's working. And then someone goes, oh, what about this? You're like, fuck, it doesn't fit with the thing, and it breaks the whole system. Either tech-wise or idea-wise or medium-wise or anywhere else.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of it too is it keeps people from actually communicating and talking, which is where I see like shotguns. It's not shotgun's weakness, but like an over-reliance on shotgun that I've seen with a lot of people, where it's like a producer or an artist is just really relying on this, and then they're not communicating other things that shotgun doesn't track.
Well, when you've got 900 employees and they're all located globally, fair enough. I could see some faceless system which allows everyone to feed everything through together. But when you've got everyone in the same building, it's easy to just walk over and go, should be a bit
I've seen
better.
teams of 20 that at big studios that at least you and I have worked at, that literally you say, hey, you reviewed my stuff, what did you think? And it's like, go read the shotgun notes. And it's like, okay, well, can you just tell me? It's like, no, like, I've got a question. It's like, no, put it in shotgun. It's like, seriously, it'll take 2 seconds. Is it red or is it green? It's like, ask it in shotgun. And it's like, that's when you break shit down. You know?
and it's almost like they're trying to use shotgun as this like information tracking.
But it's more
instead of-
covering their ass or
Yeah.
filtering shit.
Exactly, instead of just answering a simple question.
Yeah, you're preventing shit from moving forward.
Well, that's the sort of stuff you have to do when you deal with clients, though. You need to track all the changes, get everything in
but
writing,
not face
so
to
you can
face,
tie it down. But when
like-
you're working with people in your team, you should be all on board to just try and deliver the best you can. So it's more about working as a group
Yep.
to go forward. Whereas that black and white is, ass covering it. Like, well, he didn't ask me this, so I never did it. And that's the wrong attitude for internal stuff.
I was at Pixamondo in Baton Rouge, and like I did notice there that the reviews, they never let artists into the reviews. So it'd be the VFX supervisor, the Dave, I think, and but then a couple other people would be in there, but you wouldn't be allowed to have like none of the artists would be allowed in. And the thing is, I just remember how much they idolized Dave's dog. I think it's Dave. They had this dog. I forget the name, but it's like this ridiculous like name, and they'd always Photoshop him, do stuff with him everywhere, and I think I cracked the code one day where I'm like, okay, the reason that artists are not allowed in the review room is because it's the dog, whatever his name was, like Super Stevie or something, is the one who's reviewing everything. And he's like, $2 for approved, 1 for a redo, But it made so much sense because, like, I would even say, and like, not to my horn, but like, I felt I would have the ability to go into a review and say, hey, let me in the door, let me go in the review, and it's like, no, like. The coordinators would freak out, like, no one goes in there. It's like, why? Because the fucking dog is reviewing the shots and doesn't want to be disturbed. But it was kind of like that. It was just ridiculous kind of stuff like that, Brand and everyone else is super cool guys, but it's more about like the structure, and that I don't think it was their structure, but where you're having a disconnect where you have someone who gives feedback, and then that feedback goes through the coordinator, who then puts it into Shotgun, who typically coordinators don't know all the 3D terms, don't know what we're doing. So there's all this like 3-person disconnect that when you get feedback, you're like, okay, what did he mean the voxels need to go sideways? And it's like, let me check. You know what I mean? Like there was obviously something that said something about something else.
Well, let me ask you guys have been around the industry. When does it get a point when you're allowed to have your own voice? Like when you stop just doing what people tell you what to do, where you actually have an input into the system?
I was just talking about how the chips are going to be the best friend of the mic. So you were saying a minute ago.
Oh, I was asking about
What is voice?
Oh yeah, people that can when you're allowed to have an opinion. Like especially in like small companies, it's all very flat. Everyone works together, and it's all like, it feels like everyone's moving together. But as you get into bigger companies, I was wondering when you're allowed to have an opinion, especially when you see someone making a mistake or what you feel is a creative mistake. Like, shouldn't they be doing this? Shouldn't this character be doing this? Shouldn't it be look this way? And they come back and go, no, it's completely different. You're like, I really think you're wrong. I've been looking at this thing for 3 months and you're wrong. Mm-hmm. But I don't know whether you have an input, like a thought about that, especially with producers and bigger directors, or when you was talking about when people start, they have an opinion.
Well, Chad, what's your fucking opinion?
I mean, I think it's like, what kind of opinion are you having and on what type of topic? I would always encourage all opinions, but there's definitely like, sometimes somebody has an opinion about something that they don't understand in the broader context, and they're really adamant about their little opinion of the small piece of pie that they see when there's like 15 other things coming to bear. That
do you mean like more of a political opinion?
No,
like,
not even that. Just like in like a broader pipeline. Like
my issue is always like trying to deal. Like I've got an opinion about this sort of thing. I'm like, actually, you don't know that so and so knows so and so. So actually, we have to do this because this is keeping everybody happy.
Yeah,
but you're right. But I'm sorry, we have to do it this way. And I always feel so bad. I'm like, God, why do we have to play this weird little game around dancing around this person's opinion? But what do you mean?
I mean more in like a context of the pipeline where you might have an opinion about like
the hardware doesn't work.
Well, that, or like you might have an opinion on the way the character is animated, but the character is animated for this very particular way because it's down the pipe going to be going to effects, and effects needs it to be like this, and then that character is actually going to blow up and do all these other things, and you're caring about something that doesn't fucking matter because the guy blows up and nobody gives a shit.
And he's going to get covered in smoke.
Yeah, and artists, like I find a lot of times, like
they worry
artists
about
get locked into their
subsurface wrinkles and something.
Yeah, exactly. They'll get locked into their little piece that they're very concerned about, but it's like they're not often worrying about the big picture enough or realizing like in context what it's going to be. I mean, I always like, I don't know, to me, I always welcome the opinions. I'm an opinionated son of a bitch, so it's like I can't not take everybody's opinion into account, but there are situations where somebody's really adamant about something and you're like, and you try to explain it and they're still really adamant about it. It's like, okay, now I'm just going to ignore you. And,
I always have a thing of saying like, if I can't convince you, explain to you why you're wrong, then there's obviously a disconnect. Like when people get, like I don't get angry, I don't shout, I don't raise my voice. It's just
what's wrong with you?
It's just what I do because I don't think we work in an industry which involves that. We're not in life or death. This isn't hospitals or paramedics. It's fucking entertainment on the whole, or marketing.
It's not life or death. Nobody told me that.
It will be okay. It will just the cape won't flap quite as well, or this person, or the smoke won't slightly twist at the back, and 99% of the people will still go, "Oh, that's really fun."
Yep.
So whenever people get really wound up, I'm like, "Come on now, calm down."
Yep, it's not that big of a deal.
It's not big of a deal, but everyone wants to do a good job, and they're obviously tied up with it. So it's trying to work with people around that, and just trying to explain. Like I say, there's always pipeline problems, always technical things where you're just going to get the best out of it, and if they don't see that what you're doing, I'm really sorry, but we can't make that work for that. You just have to do it this way. And it's always sad, like, I know you're right, but next time we'll look at it. We'll fix the pipeline for the next project, but this is all the tools we have.
Yeah.
But
Tough luck.
you're only talking about creative stuff, right? Because I mean, I think that experience plays a big role. The more experience you get, the more you're able to say, you know what, like, let's go this way. And it's more about, I think the best thing to always do in production is to think about the end result, and that's the timeline and everything else. And most people kind of throw that out the window, and they're like, this is going to be the best thing ever. I'm going to use subsurface scattering. I'm going to use like all this amazing technology. And it's like, you know, we need to get this done within the set date. And if we go and explore all this shit, we're going to end up with something we can't render.
Yeah,
something we can't get
a lot
out
of artists have a hard time with that, looking at the big picture and how we're like going to legitimately get it done, as opposed to I got this really cool new tool that I want to play with.
I'm going to use TP, and I'm going to use soft body dynamics on the fractured pieces to get like a slight bend in the metal, or
it's like, I'm going to run it through Maya,
and then it's going to be
back
hair
through Sparta, and then back through this, and then I'm going to bring it in, and
then I'm going to 3D print, 3D scan it.
And then we're going to shoot the 3D prints
and make it all holograms.
But to go back to your earlier point about the artist's voice in the creative process, it's not always the case at every studio, because I've worked at studios where I'm supposed to be a lead.
Working number 56.
Right, I'm supposed to be a lead, but I'm not allowed into reviews. But then I've worked at studios where I'm just an artist, or even earlier in my career, where we're all in reviews, and reviews end up taking a bit longer than they should have, but we all walk out with a lot more information because the director was there, every artist was there, every coordinator was in that meeting, and you guys all, and you don't have those meetings every day. You have like a once a week kind of State of the Union, and you get all the information you need to kind of get marching orders for the week, almost. But then I've also like you were saying, like you worked somewhere and you weren't even allowed to go into the reviews, which I think is kind of ridiculous. Like, it's like here are your comments that apply to you from the horse's mouth, and it's not so much an issue of it turns into an argument where you're being combative and you want to give your feedback as to why your sim isn't working or why your renders look a certain way. It's just an issue of the director wants X, and you heard it from the director. Tell you specifically what.
Well, it's also misinformation, because like someone tells you the wrong thing because they haven't transcribed it correctly or translated it into the correct context. They tell you one thing, you go do it. 3 days later, it's like, what the fuck is this? And then, there's this big cycle where if you were actually to be there firsthand, like, there are certain studios, ILM's one, where they'll do all the CineSync sessions, everything else is recorded. And it's great because it means that you can go and watch them. So even if you don't attend the thing, like you're like, I'm too busy, you can still listen. And most of us would do that anyway. It's just like, put it on and listen and check out what everyone else is doing. And getting that insight, I think is really valuable, just to know
when it comes down to it, it's the director's opinion, which it's his vision, and we're all there to build it. We can have input, this is our, this is what we think, but it's his decision at the very end. For me, I've got a real problem often working with agencies and creatives working up to an end client who is the director in quotes, because there's their money at the end of it, and trying to get through to the final decision maker and trying to go, well, this is what we've made. These are our opinions. I'm like, I know these are your opinions, but the person that's paying for this at the end, what's his opinions? Because this is where it's going to get to. Because whatever you think, we're going to show it to him, he's going to change his mind. Especially with this kind of crazy new medium stuff. So it's like, can we just please like talk to the final or put us all in the same room, because it's going to save us 2 or 3 revision cycles to get everything moving quicker.
I think though, like, there's a lot to be said for. I mean, a lot of directors are busy. Directors generally, I think, are trying to find like supervisors and VFX supervisors, CG supervisors that can speak their language, understand their vision, and that those guys can then be the people,
and they can trust.
And they can trust.
That's
them.
why they end up working with like a company or a set of people for so many years. Like,
I don't think everybody needs. Yeah, exactly. Everybody needs to meet with the director. I mean, did you ever like have a review where Tim was in there, like at Blur, and I mean he was directing
back in the day,
but not.
No, especially now. I mean, he's busy.
Yeah, he's fucking busy.
He's got shit to do.
So he's got tons of shit to do.
Before he was the original pixel fucker. That's what he did, and So, he would come in and you would shit yourself because it didn't matter what the director and everyone else's, back then at least, their opinion meant, because he would have final say and he could completely change it. But yeah, exactly. I do remember Delcio, he's over at Allan now, like, we've got a mutual friend. I remember he was telling me he's working on After Earth, and he went into a review and they're going through all the stuff, and he just kind of pipes up in the review, picks him onto a theater room, and he's like, yeah, like, I don't really get this, like, why they're doing that, it just doesn't make sense. And then you hear someone in the back, he's like, who said that? And he's like, me. And M. Night Shyamalan stands up, and he's like, well, the reason is, he's like, trust me, I did this for a reason. And he's like, oh shit. But I've seen it before, like producer I know, Mark Webb, he's a London producer. He was sitting in a flame suite doing one of Bono's like U2 videos, and this was like a big lesson learned. Like to me, it was just like you make sure you're careful what you say because you don't know. Like Bono was in the thing, and Bono was like, yeah, you should change this. I think that it will look better. And the flame compositor was like, yeah, I tried that, it looked shit. And Bono was just like,
It's my money. I want it that way.
Yeah.
Sometimes you have to let them have it. Like it's an art form more than anything. It's creative, yes. And decision making is about how you sell it, whatever else. But our opinions of what looks good is just totally decided on our own understanding of art. So I've got this thing with the old university where I've been trying to push forward that we have only pass or fail for the degree anymore. So no grades. There's no A to E.
No hugs and
no
nice
percentages. Track. You're either good enough or you're not. So we shouldn't be allowed to say you're a 65% artist in this. You just either are good enough to create it or you're not. Mm-hmm. And so it's incredibly hard to push it. I mean, we'll probably never ever be able to get there. But I think it's a really good stance to take because when it gets into industry, when you start working,
you have to get a job or you don't.
Well, yeah, it's, you either have a job or you don't, or either the work you've created is good enough or it's not. Mm-hmm. And there's a massive division between it. You're never someone who's kind of good enough to keep it up. That shot's just about. It's either yes or no. So I think there's a different stance to take on that whole kind of decision-making process. But it is an art thing. Like, their opinion is not going to be the same as mine because I really like this, so I think everything should be kittens and puppy dogs, and where everyone else thinks it should be robots and guns.
That's a good point about, like, I think the biggest skill you can learn. Yeah, I'm going here. I think the biggest skill you can learn in this field, in our industry is actually more about being able to learn to look at things subjectively from the end client. And because I've had that where I've got friends who are like, yeah, I can't get my shots approved. They don't. Every single time that you kick back, I don't understand. All I've got are these 20 shots of these 2 approved, and I could look at them and be like, all right, well, let's look at these 2 shots. And I'm like, okay, this is easy. The reason is because all of your shots, like you're an effects guy, you're making everything crazy and everything, and these 2 are really subtle and natural, and the director obviously likes subtlety. He doesn't want fucking in-your-face turbulence and shit exploding, so tones it back and gets approved. But that's the thing, is like being able to look at, okay, I want this, but I know that they would want this, and being able to say, okay, I need to make this more what they would want. And that's like a hard thing to pick up, but when you do, that's when everything changes, I think. The trust.
We're going to start getting into sports metaphors if you're not careful.
I was already about to get into metaphors with your stuff.
My old American football coach, strangely English, used to play American football for about 4 years, played for Great Britain. We lost everywhere in the States.
By the way, you're not American.
I'm definitely not American, although my accent will get more and more American as we go through this conversation. But he used to say you have to be a student of the game, which basically meant not only knowing what you do, but know what everybody else does. Mm-hmm. Everyone else on the field, everyone else in the company. If you can understand how the whole machine works, you don't have to do it, but you just got to understand where you fit in the structure and how you take something on and you pass it on. It makes you so much better at what you're doing. It also makes the whole thing work and a lot better. But I think so many people get tied down with, I'm a Maya TD, so this is all I do. Mm-hmm. How did you get here? How's this person doing? What are you going to do next? Mm-hmm. Even the receptionist and the HR department and everybody else, it's a big organic organism that kind of moves through. So one thing I try and do is trying to get each of my guys just kind of shadow somewhere else. Like, I know you're not a real-time person, but do a bit of this, or be a VFX. Just do one day in this other area. You don't have to be good at it. You just have to understand or be able to speak the same language just enough. Did you ever bump into that with some of the bigger studios? Just being able to like.
I'll let everyone else answer, but like I would just say that like I coined phrases like I did not spend time thinking about. I call it the trifecta, which is the wankiest. The wankiest. The only other time I've heard trifecta is Pineapple Express, where it's like I built the trifecta. It's like two joints crossed over each other. The trifecta, but I do think that like you pick the things that are closest to you at least. That's why I think it's always good to start as a generalist, because that way you don't need to necessarily be like, all right, I know what I'm doing, but I'm going to learn everything else. It's more...
A generalist at the start is generally shit at everything.
No, you start out...
It's so hard to be... I'm a generalist, but I can't really do anything right now. I haven't had enough time to be good at one
You start
thing.
that way just because that way, at least later on, you have an understanding. Because I have worked with people who I'm like, okay, just unwrap the thing. And it's like, I've never unwrapped in my life, or whatever. And it's just the basic principles. So I think it's...
Yeah, most of the guys... Most of the best guys I know were generalists that then started to specialize in something, and it's hard when you see like kids coming out of school and we look to like hire them and like, I'm an animator. Like, great. Like,
cool.
Can you rig?
Can you rig? Can you texture? Can you model? Can you do all these other things? Because like,
At least at a basic level.
yeah.
Well, it's
A good modeler will know... a good animator will know some modeling, because that way it's like, all right, same way as a modeler, that way you're like, okay, more deformation up here in the shoulders and in certain areas, so that way it's going to deform right, otherwise...
Yeah, and
it's all
especially in a smaller shop, too. And I think, like, everybody's got it that they want to work at MPC, Blur, ILM, DD, and whatever. And the fact of the matter is, those places are only hiring, as we know, they're only hiring so many people, and there's so many other shops out there. There's tons of other little shops, and I think schools are doing a real disservice to their students just teaching them these, very specific tasks.
Absolutely.
And not teaching them a lot of like what the job is actually about. Lighting and rendering and all these other things. My rant on that, Saul wants to talk about.
No, I just want to say I absolutely agree. Like, from my years of lecturing, we put the teacher's hat back on. We tried so hard to, like, the first year of uni was like a foundation in animation. You did everything from ZBrush to fucking Premiere to modeling to effects, anywhere in between. And then the second year you got to do, like, even if you joined the 2D animation degree, you did 3D. If you did games, you did VFX. And then the second year you kind of tied it down a bit and you had a go at making your own project. You really failed massively because you were trying to aim for this, but that taught you. And then the final year you kind of got a specialism, but having gone through it gave you that kind of understanding of everything else, and you found what you want to do. Especially as most 18-year-olds don't know what they want to do with CG, especially if you're going in that route anyway, so they're a professional thing. But when it comes down to it, that foundation, that understanding was the thing that gave them the strength, and that's why the Hearts kids anyway do so well from the back of it. They're not gone in and done physics and maths and coding because they're just going to be a character kind of rigger TD. But I think that's really drives you, just like you say, just to DNEG or just to MPC, just to be that tiny thing.
Yeah.
Whereas there are, 1,500 shops in kind of around the world of kind of like the 10 to 20 man kind of size.
And I think it's even more than that. I mean, there's so many little shops that, like, I get hit up with people like, how do I get into the industry? I want to work at wherever. It's like, the likelihood of that you're 20 and you're going to go work at DNEG is like next to nil. Like, get in at another studio where you can get your chops up, and those other studios want generalists. They don't want, I'm an animator and I only animate. Like, that's great, but you have such a small window to work within. And obviously there are some schools out there, a few that are teaching, some pretty badass stuff. But a large majority of some of the top ones that I've looked at, and it's pretty bad, unfortunately. I think of one in particular that you and I both know, Hnedel. It's
they're just pushing you out as, what's your interest very early. Here's 3 or 4 years of this.
Of this one thing.
Of this one discipline,
Yeah,
it's
one
really
school
hard,
in particular, I had like 150 students apply, and they all, I wouldn't have hired them. And when I talked to like the head of the department about it, like, he was like, well, Disney wants 3 of them, and these are like our top. I'm like, great. What about the rest of them? Like,
Right.
what did you just do?
You gather them with what? In the UK, that would be £50,000 worth of debt. Over
Yeah.
here, it's going to be way more.
Yeah, for a job that they can't.
Yeah.
Like, you
Give them skills.
Useless.
Let them have a bunch of broad skills. So when you aim for here, maybe you don't quite hit it, so you at least land there, and then you work your way up.
You can get a job and you can
Right.
start to carve your own way. Because you might learn that you fucking hate animating. You actually really like fluids, or I mean,
I know plenty of people have done that.
Yeah.
Like Carlson Guiano, he wanted to be a modeler, and he hated being, he hated scripting. Mm-hmm. He fucking hated scripting, and
That's hysterical.
but he wanted to be a character TD, and he wanted to be a modeler. And I look at him now, he made Mango,
Yeah.
and he's just like, all he does all day is program, and he fucking loves it. So, and shooting. But,
Yes.
but yeah, I mean, like, along the way you evolve. So with the trifecta,
Yes. All right. Bring it back to the trifecta.
I just thought it'd be opportune timing. But no, what I was going to say is that, general is to, finding your niche, the thing that you want to focus as a discipline. But then from there, it's like, you learn that, but then you start to learn the 3 things that I think directly affect you. So if it was effects, maybe you learn some programming, some lighting, some compositing, or whatever it's going to be. But, if it's animation, maybe you learn...
Effects. Because you fuck over.
That is such a good point. I hadn't thought about that. Simulation.
Yes, I think every animator, I'm like totally going, I'm going to piss off every animator out there right now. Every animator should learn VFX or real flow or something.
Or just
So they
some
start-
basic particle
some
system
basic
so that they're
particle
not...
system.
Yeah.
So there's a guy falling
Yes.
on the ground, and you only animated 5 frames from him hitting the ground, but you want me to have like him on fire from like 20 feet up in the air, like. So I gotta
and
go in.
half of his body that you don't see in camera is at the fucking origin.
Yeah.
And they've animated the verts of the part that you see in camera.
So you end up
over
animating
there.
the shots yourself,
Yeah.
or kick it back, which doesn't usually work. Like kicking stuff back to animation, it's only some places they'll actually let that happen. But that's a good point, and we're sorry.
Sorry, animators.
That's the thing.
Love you.
It's not their fault.
This happens
Yeah.
everywhere. It's
Yeah,
it's
it
not
is.
just an isolated issue. It happens everywhere.
But it's more about.
But every department does that to
No,
every other
exactly.
department. It's not
Everyone fucks everyone.
That one just came immediately to mind, but I know I've fucked somebody else in the past.
Well, I've had that too, where you give your stuff to compositors and they'll just screen your stuff, and it's like, oh, okay, you're
Yeah.
You're that
you're
guy.
more, yeah. So, because I used to write like detailed notes because I would comp all my stuff in Shake that I hand it to the flame compositor
Shake.
at night.
Just throwing it out there.
Throwing it out there,
Late
man.
90s.
Represent.
Bring it back.
Early 2000s as
We were
well.
talking about Max 1 and 2 this morning. What?
Oh god, yeah. But that's the thing is like you basically learn like the 3 areas that directly affect you. So that way, you learn all these bit of lighting, bit of comping. That's going to make you stronger as an artist because it's going to make you able to work more efficiently. But it's also you start to think about where's my stuff going. So actually, exactly what you said, like where is it going? What will they need? So even to speak in the same language, if you're a compositor and you learn some 3D, then you're able to say, you know what? If you render these out as EXRs and embed the channels, or do me a favor, I notice whenever you're matting everything out, like, you don't set these flags, please do this. Make sure you extract the alphas because they're fucking atmospherics, whatever it's going to be. If you understand at least a little bit, you'll be able to have that communication, opposed to, hey, I need like a fog pass. And they're like, what's that? And you maybe mean Z-depth? Or, and there's a big disconnect. So by doing that, you're able to say, hey, you know what, do these things and I'll be able to work with this. And they, you can say, what do you need from me? Be able to communicate with other departments is really powerful, as well as, be able to comp your own stuff so you can get an understanding without it going to comp. Because I think for effects, the biggest mistake most people make is they just fire out their shit and they wait for the compositor to look at it. And then they're like, okay, what do you need me to change? But if you do it yourself, you start to be like, all right, what do I need to change?
Well, that's always, I think even if there's a comp department, always be pre-comping.
Yeah.
I think that's
Fred Ruff said that last episode.
so important. Always be pre-comping.
Sounds like a
ABP.
we'd be rolling.
ABP.
They hating.
It's the right thing to do because, not to disparage you, it's not that fucking hard to run a copy of Nuke. A few nodes, whatever. Although I'm trying to bring Fusion back. One day it's going to come back. I love that program.
We use it.
Love that program.
I was
At Encore?
yeah, mostly artists. Yeah.
I got the Activision guys to start looking at it because it's free, and there were more After Effects, and then you had a couple of licenses.
It's a good program. They just had a bad marketing campaign. They got absolutely destroyed by the Foundry guys.
Okay.
My personal opinion.
I feel like I just mentioned Shake, so I think Shake and Fusion were on the same playing field. Okay, I don't think Nuke is on the same playing field. For me, I started out Fusion 1, which came with, it was Alias Composer, and then there was Fusion, which started shipping with like Maya 2, I think, and it's like these big ugly pipes that would connect each, and I switched to Fusion. Fusion 3 was really cool, and it was really great. Then HD TV, or digital TV, came in, and it could not do 1080p, it could not do high res,
right.
so if you were anything above standard def, it crashed. And so I switched to Shake. And then Shake got acquired by Apple, and it was meant to be the greatest thing ever, and they ran it in the ground. So then Fusion 4 came around, really solid, and that's what we used to Blur. It worked. Nuke, especially when the Foundry acquired it, like it's on in my opinion, it's on a whole other playing field. It's not. There's no Fusion Nuke. It's more. But Nuke is free. Sorry, Fusion is free, and it's great.
It felt very much like an artist's tool than a coder's tool. Whereas Nuke can be ripped apart and put back together. It felt like a lot of the guys at Transition was just like, the fuck is this? I just want to plug this into this. Why do you have to code that bit? You have to put a script in here to make that happen. It'd be great once the thing's all set up, but right now, I know you just want to lay this over this, but you have to pre-comp it, and then you have to do one of these, and you have to transpose it through a shuffle copy and blah, blah, blah.
Yeah.
Well, that's just Booleans.
I think Fusion's nice for little studios and stuff, but yeah, I mean, I'm with you that in a big studio where you're trying to like architect a pipeline and all of this, and you want all these things happening automated, Fusion, I mean, just its little, I forget what its little coding language is, but every developer I've worked with just like hates it and swears at it. It's so difficult to make like something as simple as like groups and Nuke, Yeah. I mean, and the groups being able to load those up into multiple scripts, and I mean there's just a lot of stuff that it can't do that you need in a big production pipe. But again, it's a little studio. It's fucking awesome. Yeah, it's a great little tool.
Just does the job, but you're absolutely right. I think it's like horses for courses, and it kind of drags through as you get bigger and bigger and bigger.
Well, it's like After Effects too. After Effects is great. It has its place. You're not going to be doing feature film. I mean,
I've seen some people using After Effects as their feature film compositor.
Yeah, it just depends on your workflow. But I think Nuke's pretty damn powerful. I love Fusion, and it took me a long time. I had like John Brannick, a few guys that I work with. Like I had them slapping me because he's my VFX suit on one project, and I'm comping in Fusion, and he's comping in Nuke, and he's like, you have to switch to Nuke, and I'm like, but Fusion, I don't know, for some reason my shit looks better. But you take the plunge eventually, and go play with the big boys.
Well, it's every. It used to be that every company would be different, but now it seems that there is definitely a solid pipeline delivering of the core applications that you have to be at least competent in. I mean, you don't have to be amazing in it, but if you're going to be in effects work, you need to have Maya, and you need to have Nuke, and you need to have some ZBrush knowledge.
So,
and then in London especially, you don't have to have any Mac skills. But if you're going to come over to the States and anywhere else in the world, understanding Mac seems to be still like a really, really relevant thing. And being a Mac guy, I'm like, oh, I love Macs.
Anytime anyone
but in
asks me
London,
this,
they're like, what, you do architectural visualization? I'm like, no, it's still really good. And I'm like, yeah, we don't care.
No, actually, I'll answer this because I had a big conversation about this recently, just to do with like people freaking out because they're located in London. It's like I can't get a Max job. There is definitely Max studios, but yeah, like a lot of the bigger studios are definitely Maya, which surprises me for effects these days. But Maya or Houdini,
it's because they're using Houdini.
Right.
I mean, it's not that they're using.
No,
I mean, I don't know.
No, there's still
probably
there's still
totally
Maya
wrong.
there's still Maya FX studios around.
No,
And-
it's because they rewrote them.
Why do they want to punish themselves?
No,
Central
Sorry, guys.
Central London is just Maya. Like they've rewritten it. Every studio has their version, and it's just their lifeblood. And they've done it for so long. If you dare put anything else into that fucking system, they're like, fuck off. We've got this stuff done. We know this is a slightly better. Houdini's around the edge. There's a few copies of Max around the edge, but Soho is Maya and Nuke. Solid.
And the thing is that, like, outside of, like, basically I always say if you're trying to learn a package, you learn what you're good at, but you also do your research, do your due diligence, and figure out, like, okay, I'm in the city or I want to work in the city. What do they use? Because, like, you could go learn Max, and then you go to New York, and there's lots of Max houses in New York, but you might also say, oh, I can go Cinema 4D, instead. So, it really comes down to, you don't pick the wrong weapon for that fight. You kind of pick the right thing. Like, LA is definitely mixed bag. I think these days it's definitely changing.
Yeah, I mean, for the most part, a lot of the big houses in LA are Maya Studios with Houdini for effects, and with some effects being done in Maya. And then some of the smaller shops are a mix of their main pipeline being Maya, and then they're okay with using Max for effects or hiring a couple of Max effects artists just because of the tools. But some of the tools are going over to Maya as well, so it's...
Well, you look at Scanline, you look at Digital Domain for the longest time, had, like, commercials at least, had a lot of Max. It really just depends. Like, I had Rhythm Hughes contacted me 5 years ago, or 6 years ago, because they at the time, they were like, we've mastered water, we've mastered creatures and everything else. The one thing we haven't really figured out is fire. And so we're going to go and start developing our own tools and building a whole pipeline. And we're like, why don't we do kind of the ILM way, like set up a Rebel unit, and, we'll just use Fume Effects and build this whole Fume Effects pipeline around our Houdini pipeline. And of course, like, now PyroFX is around, and, R&H isn't really as much. But yeah, it's, I at least admire the studios are willing to think outside the box a little bit and be like, okay, well, what works? And rather than like, oh, I use this and I've justified in my head it's the best because I use it, therefore it must be the best, rather than like, let me check out what else is around. It's like even stuff like Blender, Cinema 4D, like I'm never gonna like down talk one of them like, oh, I use whatever, just because like fuck, like there's plenty of cool shit coming out of all of them. And I grew up on that stuff where you'd have like the Lightwave versus Max versus Maya kind of arguments, and I never understood it. I'm like, why can't we all get along? Was really how I felt about it all. It's just, they're all good, but it had to be, there had to be one good one and the rest of the suck. And it became like this big, brutal kind of argument.
Well, anybody that's going to down talk C4D has to do the headphone thing, something that tops that guy that did the headphone breakdown, that were like, they strip and fall, like, come together. You know the one I'm talking about.
Is it the Drake, like, Sprite commercial or different one?
No. It's like 4 years old at this point, but he did it all Cinema 4D, and it's just like the headphones are building up. It's on Vimeo. I know I liked it at one point, but it's fucking dope. Like, really fucking cool. And I've seen a lot of people trying to do stuff like that in Max and in Maya, or like, I did like this MoGraph thing because it's very MoGraph-like. Yeah. But I haven't seen many that are as good as that was.
Well, I've never used it, so I get chips in my mouth. I've never used it, but I've seen it used, and it makes sense. Like, it's something that if you want to do stuff easily, you do it easily. And that's why I love, like, I feel like Max in a way is kind of the middle ground, where it's having the modify panel, you can do so much shit. And, over, let's say, Maya. Like, I think it's not a Maya Max bashing thing, it's more just I'm saying, like, Max's modify panel, you can do some shit. And my understanding of Cinema 4D is, like, you can take it a lot further, where it's built around simplicity, you can get shit done, and you can do a lot of intricate, like, reveals and, a lot of stuff with what you're doing, so you can, build upon that. So
but they also speak to, like, using the right tool for the right job.
Yep.
Right? It's learning the right tool, like, using the right tool for the right job. Like, animating in Maya is way easier than animating in Max. It's known.
Yep.
So, a lot of Max houses now are animating in Maya and exporting their caches to Max for effects and lighting and rendering, And that's okay. So if you're doing your motion graphics, don't fight and do motion graphics. And if you have if that's what you're focusing on, don't try and make Max a motion graphics tool when it's that's not its strength.
Well, yeah, like every package has its strengths, and no, it's a good point though. I mean, you've got all these different tools that have like, I know, let's say before Maya, you would have Power Animator. You have Power Animator. Power Model or Power Animator. You'd have.
Quit reminiscing.
It's always reminiscing about the old software. Back in my day, I used a cue ball to
make my 3D.
When I was a lad.
When I had a mouse, it had a wheel, and you had to take it apart and like use your fingernail to get all the gunk out of the wheel. But no, it basically, like the original software tools we'd have were all segmented, and then you get Maya, you have Mirai, you'd have Max, you'd have these all one solution, all-purpose tools. And then I love the fact that it's kind of going away from that again, where suddenly XSI for animating, Max for, effects and, whatever else, and like you resegment.
Didn't it feel like Autodesk took like XSI, the puppy, out to the forest and like shot it? What happened to XSI? Oh, he lives on a farm now. He's having a lovely time.
I feel privileged. That we were all at Blur at the time. Like, so I actually got to witness like an XSI studio during that period where it's like it's literally like
I think it was the last one.
Picture how you feel. Picture your happiest thought. Put it into an animal. This is your power animal. Now strangle that power animal. Okay. So yeah, like to be at Blur at the time, I kind of felt privileged to get to witness someone like cry a little bit, and because it is an end of an era, and it's like I was with Frantic Films when XSI wanted to buy Flood, which was their fluid dynamics software, and I assume I can say this, but basically, like we ended up having a chance to look at their books. I didn't personally, but Chris Bond and those guys got a chance to look at XSI's books. This was 2006, so around the time Alias Autodesk acquisition, and yeah, Chris was like, "There's no way I would ever like sell my product to XSI because it's barely keeping afloat." And you fast forward 6 years, I mean, it got bought. I forget what the money. It was really low that Autodesk bought it for. It's like, I'm not going to say the number because I could be wrong, but like, it was low. And yeah, I mean, I guess it's just been one of those things that like you've got this amazing package. And I'll reminisce for a second and say Sumatra was like meant to be the thing that was going to save Softimage.
Just moving into happier times, are any of our software packages good enough? Like, they can always be better. They can always be rewritten. And everyone gets so hung up on what the software is. I'm hardware and software agnostic. I don't care. As long as you can work it and it looks good at the end, use whatever you freaking want. If Blender has some crazy like fluid system, use that. If that's the thing that's going to make it quick at the end and it will look good. But for me, it's very easy because there's a small studio. There isn't a massive pipeline that took ages to design, and you're going to break it. But it doesn't really matter because whatever you learn now, especially if you're new, will change, and it will be different by next year. The people that get way too hung up on software, the people that are very small-minded and they're very closed. They've obviously spent a few years training on X, and they don't want to change it because I've spent time on it. But yeah. That's just giving you a knowledge and understanding to transport it somewhere else. So you got to learn all of them, or at least be able to take a skill set higher than the button pushing and the graph and the this and that. So like, yeah, Maya's better at animating.
You got to be more than the software.
But it's still got curves. It's still got this. It's still got keyframes. It's still got anticipation. And in fact, if you pull it out of the software into what you're trying to put into it, then it's not about the terminology. It's about a set of skills beyond that. So even modeling has an understanding of polygon layout and flows and everything else to create form, and then that goes into subdiv, subdo, open bub, or whatever else the smoothing algorithm is going to be over top of it. But that's a higher level thinking than, I go to the panel and I click this button and then I do some extrusion and whatever else it's going to be. And I think people get way too hung up on it. I mean, for us, we want to hire someone for a job. We need them to go, right, our pipeline's this, I want one of those. So I want you to have these skills.
Give me a coffee mug. We're talking breakfast.
Yeah. But I've got to have those skill sets.
Yeah.
That's what I want to hire. And the bigger the company, the smaller the very specific thing I want you to do within that thing is. But that's going to change. So don't being hung up on it, I think, is dangerous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
it's also small-minded.
You got to evolve. But that being said, one question I was going to ask, which now is like the worst question to ask: what tools do you use?
Excel. No, not even Excel. Fucking Google Docs.
Google Docs.
Google Docs.
My favorite app, Google Doc. Yeah.
So, Railclone and stuff like that. I mean, I'm just more interested in like, what are the tools that you give some insights, like tools that you're like, hey, I use this and like these are really cool, like Forest Pack, whatever, VFX, you know.
Yeah.
I think if we went around the table and just did that really quick, it'd be kind of pretty interesting to be like, oh shit, like I've never tried that. That'd be really cool. Because yeah, I know, like fucking Greeble. Okay, like you, there's gonna be people
Love
like,
Greeble.
what's Greeble? You
Bring
know?
it back.
So it's around.
You still use Greeble? Come on.
I used to.
Did you bust it
a long
out?
time.
I have one of my artists just built this like big, giant UFO, and like I almost wanted to kill him because he went way overboard with like, I'm like, have you not heard of a displacement map? But he's Greebled the shit out of everything, but he looks fucking cool. So yeah, Greeble, more power to you.
Yeah, for me, like VFX is one of my favorites, and Edward is an awesome developer, and he's looking to push some really cool things. I'm really excited to see what he's going to be doing with 2.0.
Mm-hmm.
Some things that could directly impact how we work as effects artists, and doing some fun stuff. So I really like that. Also, obviously, for environments, Forest Pack, Multiscatter, and Railclone. Then, I guess at the core is Max, ZBrush a whole bunch, Houdini, V-Ray, obviously.
It's a whole painter's palette of software.
I don't know. I mean, I think those are like my core, the ones that I... And then, obviously, for effects, VFX, I don't know.
Well, just quickly,
Regular.
okay, VFX. Just for anyone who's like, I've never heard of that before. Like, why do you just quickly like, why do you use it? Like, what does it do for you?
Well, I mean, it makes plants at its like
They grow.
base level, yeah. But it's basically like spline. It can also do like spline-based animations and dependencies, so you can create like a parent spline and then sub-splines off of that, and then you can make them grow all the parameters on the dialogue or animatable.
Mm-hmm.
That can also then mesh together. It's got a really cool meshing system. Previously, SpeedTree up until recently hadn't had where like when a branch met the trunk, that meshed together. They have since come up with an algorithm for that, but VFX I think was one of the first ones that would do that, and it would actually blend everything together, which also can give you some really cool stuff if you know what you're doing. Again, everything is fully animatable. Now, if you think about that in the context of effects, and maybe you want to make lightning, or you want to do, there's a bunch of stuff that, some new things that he's coming out with. I'm really looking forward to playing with as far as setting up some pretty complicated rigs. There's actually even one thing I was thinking about that pertains to us, a lightning type effect.
I was just about to say, I love the fact that it's now 2015, and outside of proprietary tools like Booth and a few other places have made, I've not seen a lightning solution that works. Like, even Blur for the longest time, but now it's discontinued, so they can't use it anyway, but like...
The lightning tool.
Well, no, originally, that's what I mean, because like originally it was always Digimation's lightning tool, which even I bought. Like, it was so shitty, but like you'd use that, and in Fusion you would use the lightning on top. But now Digimation doesn't exist, so using Exercise One is a solution, but it means you literally for lightning you got to switch to an entirely different package to do that. But okay, that's cool. And Hnedel, like for you, I mean, you're obviously more 100% effects. So
lately, yeah.
What are the tools?
I guess the pretty standard Max Effects toolkit. Thinking particles, P-Flow when it's necessary, Fume Effects. Fluids, I've been messing with Phoenix a lot for simple stuff.
How do you find it?
Phoenix. I think it's got a long way to go, but I think it definitely has potential to be used in production.
Do you use like the foam features? Like what specifically are you doing when you use Phoenix?
Phoenix?
Yep.
Actually, we just used.
Gonna kill me.
We were using the Phoenix renderer over.
Oh, we were using the point renderer.
The point renderer over Krakatoa
Instead of Krakatoa.
For some stuff, because it just you didn't have to deal with motion blur, matting issues. It was all stayed in V-Ray, and it ended up working way better than Krakatoa for the stuff that we were doing.
I'll try. I mean, like I've never used the point renderer, but I will say that like Krakatoa is an amazing point renderer. You can render hundreds of millions of particles. Back when we created it, I'm just kidding.
Yes. Back in the good old days.
But no, like the whole thing is that obviously it's a point renderer. It doesn't handle geometry, so it uses deep compositing to kind of work around that. The downside is that like not all the time is everything going to be 100% complete. And same thing if you're using two different renderers, you never get motion blur. And if there's a lot of key things that you'll never get accurate, that's where you are going to run into issues. So that's the one advantage that Chaos Group has with Phoenix and a lot of other stuff is the fact that you're bringing it all into the same world.
Yep.
And it means that everything you render, even bringing FumeFX, which I love the fact that they support FumeFX, it means that you can bring
Houdini,
it all.
They support. I mean, any VDBs, it's freaking awesome. I mean, I was using Phoenix to bring in VDBs from Houdini and then rendering them with V-Ray. This is badass.
That's cool.
And again, it goes back to picking the right tool for the right job.
Right.
Like for what we needed, Phoenix ability to handle the particle count that we needed was perfect. If the particle count was triple that or a lot more, then it wouldn't have made sense to use Phoenix, and we're just going to have to bite the bullet and use Krakatoa. But for how quick the renders were necessary, render it in Phoenix. Keep it all in V-Ray.
Yep.
Keep it quick.
But it's the knowledge base that you have allowed you to transfer to a completely different software. Like throwing around these different things, you're like, well, yeah, I'll just open it up and learn. It'll take me a couple of days to get my head around it. But everything you've learned before lets you transpose onto a new piece of software.
Of course.
But I think some people get hung up that they're scared of what the next piece of software is. And I only know these ones. They're like, well, they're not going to try and can trick you. They want it to be so you can be good at it. So we'll probably call it the same sort of thing. We'll call it a render. So everyone's call it rendering. You know, then we're going to do this and we're going to do that. There's going to be some few little complexities because we've done something a bit different, but it's the same stuff. We use Corona as our renderer at the minute. It's like a Max one, and it's a little bit more towards where the Arnold Meyer people are going, but has a nod back to the V-Ray stuff, and you can push it in either direction. It's only really, I think it's only come out of beta really recently. But
I thought it was like last month or 2 months ago. They've got a cool like pricing thing as well.
So we've been part of the beta for the last year, and we love it. Like it's got all of the good stuff that we need on either end. We can make it quick and dirty, and we can get under its skin, or we can just allow it to just be this beautiful, painfully long renderer if we want it to be. But it sits in the middle. We've got a nod to V-Ray and we've got a nod to this, but Corona's been our kind of core or whatever we've been doing recently. But it's still just a renderer. It still works in the same way. And the artists that want to use it I really wish it could do this. They always say like, I want it to be like the other thing we've done before because that's what they knew. But it only takes a couple of days to probably push themselves into another direction. Most of my software stuff that we use is kind of real-time stuff at the minute. We have all kind of Nuke and a copy of Mara, a copy of Max, and a copy of SpeedTree, or whatever. Well, now our main things are Unity and Unreal Engine 4. Those are our two big kind of core pieces of software that we use and push around. Unity is whenever we need to make stuff which is on every platform ever. So if it's on iOS and Android and blah, 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 and Smart TV. And then we're sort of sketching it because it's kind of an open source thing. You can plug Connects into it or this pressure pad or whatever else. And if you want to make something pretty, we go in Unreal Engine because it's just a much, much nicer engine. It's got a much better kind of renderer.
Which do you think is more widely supported? Like if you were to say, okay, these are to the market, the general public, which one is more widely supported if you were going to pick one?
Sadly, they're both supported just as much as each other, but user base would be very interesting to look at. I'm not quite sure. Unity's got a huge user base because it has this real indie developer open platform. You make a little app for whatever, and you can sell it on every app store without any stress because it reconverts itself.
I'll intervene and we'll go back to you. I'm sorry. I was going to say I just ran a poll with. So far, it's about 1,800 people, and I mentioned like, what are the software that you currently use, and I said, what is the software you want to use or want to learn? And Unity and Unreal I threw in there just as like a an additional thing, and like both were really high up there, and it's kind of interesting. It's like, wow, because the people I'm talking to aren't necessarily game people, but just the fact that there was a lot of interest, it's like, all right, this is pretty interesting.
It's the same stuff. You can pick. Unreal Engine is free, and so is Unity is free to get your hands on, and their pricing model is incredibly competitive. It's all to do with sales at the end, and if you're doing certain projects, they're still free. So
it doesn't cost money.
If you do a theme park ride, it's free. And like what?
Because it's only broadcast. Like
it's only for stuff where you've got sales. So it's sales for any of a reasonable size, where you start earning proper money. So if you make a PS4 title or an Xbox title or something else, and they could probably just check on your company's house, like how much money you've earned, then they'll come after you. Like, you should probably give us some of that cash, which I think is a really interesting way of selling it. But UEFoot was definitely massive for being big games, big pretty stuff. Unity is this kind of indie thing, but they're definitely both coming down, and one's the other one coming up to kind of meet each other in the middle.
We tried to buy the Quake 2 engine when I was working on Team Fortress 2, and id Software, even though at the time it was just like a TC, a total conversion, as a mod, they were saying it'd cost $2 million if we wanted to buy the engine. And the thing is that we're like,
it's now free.
Yeah.
That was Unreal when we were back at Speedshape.
Yeah.
We were trying to talk with them about doing something like that for car stuff. Yeah, and it was like 1.5, something like that, million.
It's totally changed the whole dynamic of all that kind of industry, and it's opened it up. Mm-hmm. It's kind of exciting. We were talking about rendering and not rendering in real time, and the way that they're kind of both of them coming up and coming down. Mm-hmm. Crytek have a whole thing about this movie box thing, which is taking all their good particle system and making it into for a traditional kind of usage tool. Have you guys bumped into that at all? I know they went around the kind of UK and showed it off to everyone. I don't know if anyone actually picked it up, took it in. Is it
interesting how this
GPU particles?
Oh, sorry.
It's okay.
But interesting how this conversation is segued into software pricing. Mm-hmm. Because recently I stumbled upon an old thread on Facebook that was started by Brandon Young about Ansi and Andy Byrne and all these guys ended up chiming in on just how expensive it was working as a VFX artist from home.
Yeah.
And I think Ansi was saying that and at the time I don't work from home, I'm working for a big studio, so I haven't had to take on some of these financial burdens, but I think Ansi said his basic setup at the time was something like $14,000 between buying a workstation, licensing Macs, and this is before some of the creative pricing. TP now has
which is more expensive technically, but
it seems like a better deal if you, I guess maybe.
You have to buy it for the entire year.
The $600 a year.
$600 a year, but technically you buy it for twice the price, but you'll have it how often does a new version come out? 2 to 3 years.
Right.
So it's more of a sleight of hand.
Well, the thinking is that if they have constant revenue, they can develop more consistently, and they can plan and structure their business model and all that stuff. That's the thinking. I mean, no.
I totally understand that. I'm saying
thinking particles.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to go.
I kept away.
Shouldn't someone buy thinking particles by now? Just throwing it out.
It's silence. Well, I'm going to segue for a second and say that was one question I want to bring up to both of you guys was, what does SpeedTree cost these days?
So much.
Because last time I checked,
$4,000.
When I checked,
that was when we bought it last.
I checked probably 2010 because they were using an avatar and it was I thought it was more 40 at the time.
No.
No, there's two different things. There's the studio pricing, then there's I forget. There was some pricing on their page. There was some pricing on the page that was $40,000. I was
am in shock. I couldn't believe, it didn't make sense. But even $4,000, like, okay, that's still pricey. And like, you look at Grow Effects, what's $300?
Grow Effects is $300, yeah. And you can get it on sale at different times for like
Forest Pack's like
$225.
Forest Pack's like $200.
And it's amazing. Like, I mean, I know both of them, and I'd pick Grow Effects over Speed Tree any day, but yeah, especially for the price.
You guys are talking.
But it kind of pushes into something I was thinking about, is that how much stuff do you buy? Like, I have a thing with going, if you can buy the models, buy the model. Don't build it. I don't need to pay a modeler to build a copy of a Porsche. Just buy it from wherever you can.
For sure. Yep.
For a few $100s.
Yep.
And a friend of mine was like, well, isn't that like eroding your business? I'm like, no, if the thing exists, then why are you trying to reinvent it? We'll get the base and then we'll adapt it to whatever we want it to be. So I'm always like, if it's out there, buy it first.
Yes.
It'll be more cost effective to do that than trying to reinvent it.
Yeah,
buy a model rather than hire someone?
I mean, we always buy it and then modify it to suit the needs.
Yeah.
But
the pleasure that is Humpster 3D.
Every car ever.
So, sorry, Hnedel. So, like you're saying about pricing, like Krakatoa.
Well, I mean, like Houdini, for example. Houdini now has the apprenticeship license, which seems like
Max,
more of an
there's the
might
other
have
one.
it
It's
too.
$200.
How much is it?
It's $200. There's a free one that you can buy, but then if you pay $200, you have like no watermark and there was some other stuff. I own it, but I don't remember what the benefits of it are.
Does that allow you to
that's
do
a
production
student.
from home?
Yeah, as me.
Yeah,
yes.
as an artist. Yeah.
Uh-huh.
Wait, it's not commercial. You're not allowed to make money. It's a non-commercial.
No, it's not. It's up to like a certain amount. I can commercially work with it.
For $200.
Interesting.
So that's going back to like True Space prices. Yeah, you're right. I do go back to like old software. Like True Space was like $200.
Yeah.
I think like Andrew Kramer, when he was on, he was saying that like that's how he started out, was good old True Space. And
Yeah, there are rules about it, and like if your company makes over X amount and all this stuff. But if I do like a little
that's the only way
project,
they're ever going to be on your
It's
radar.
really hard to enforce. And Corona Render's got the same thing. If you're a studio of X and you're making X amount, you should give a percentage of your earnings, blah, 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 back to it. Pretty tricky to... It's instead of just paying for something and getting it off, and that's all you're doing. It's the same as like the subscription model. A friend of mine was arguing that how dare they, subscription model, I want to own something. It's like, actually you don't. You want to get into a deal where you get the better version all the time. So I know we're going to end up paying them more in the long run, but we were going to buy the new one anyway. So let's bring it back to that. Let's go down, the Adobe everything for £50 a month.
Well, they got a
Let's
deal.
do that.
They
And
got a
somewhat
deal
adaptive,
that ends.
scalable.
They got a deal that ends in like 5 days. It's like $30 a month for 1 year. For like Adobe. For Adobe Creative Cloud, yeah, which is pretty awesome. But you got to already own Adobe Creative Cloud. I've been arguing with the chat feature for days. Like,
they're losing money. I was speaking to a few, and they're losing money for the first year or two, and then it will start kicking in and making a huge amount of sense.
It's like a gym membership.
Even Autodesk told they're going to an all-you-can-eat subsystem. They announced it at AU. I don't know if it's out yet. You bumped into it yet?
No, I do know that. Like when we're all hanging out with Eddie and those guys in AU, like they were talking about how they're gonna make everything free, like exactly like how the apprentice stuff works. And yeah, they have. Like it's really great. Like all my new class, everyone's like, I've got a lot of Maya students who signed up, probably about 20 or 30 in my mentorship, and a lot of those guys are like, hey, do I need to buy Max or what do I need to buy? Because of the way the relationships I've set up, like the only thing you need to buy right now is Fume, and if you buy it through my course, you get it for 25%. So it's like, okay, like you don't need to buy Max, you don't need to buy TP, RealFlow. There is other stuff, but
well, that was why even like I started just teaching Fusion instead of Nuke,
right,
because
it's available.
It's available, and like I've gotten into arguments with software companies recently that it's like, well, give it to them for free or some sort of really discounted, or at the end they can buy it, and this particular one's like, no, we don't do that. I'm like, okay, well, I'm going to email these other 3 competitors of yours, and I'm going to get one of them too, and then I'm going to promote that software. Like, I don't know what to tell you.
The principles are the same, but it's absolutely... I always have the same thing with with actual students of the degree. They're, oh my god, they used to be like, oh, I need a cracked copy of so and so. Now I'm really worried I'm getting in trouble. I'm like, do you make any money? No. Do you have any money? No. And no one's going to care. Mm-hmm. When you start to have money, you better sort your shit out. And that's the way it should. And that's
exactly.
The way. And now the industry's realised they're like, give it away to everyone learning.
Mm-hmm. Build a user base.
Yeah, get them hooked early.
It's like drug. No, it's
it's an entrance drug.
First one free.
First hits for free.
Yeah, and then you're hooked, and then they'll take it forward to whatever industry, and it's the right one because they've chosen for the right reason.
Yep. Disclaimer: we are not drug users.
That was actually like I've had a lot of recent interactions with software companies, and I really want to explain like the long tail of investing. It's like, okay, with my course, I've had 150 people sign up last week. Or more, a little bit more than that, and like everyone goes through the course, and the thing is that like you give us a lot of free stuff. It means that I'm going to spend a year just investing with these students and learning these industry standard tools, and a year from now you take them away, it's not going to be everyone, but a lot of people are going to be like, oh, I need my tool that I now rely on, like please give it to me at a discounted rate. And even then the discounts we're getting are like phenomenal. So
well, it's not just that, it's also like when you go to a studio and the studio tries to hire you, and they're like, how did you create all of this awesome work? Well, I use these tools. Like, we don't have it, but for thinking particles, for example, but for $60 a month versus what you're giving us in return, it's okay. Yep. That's fine. Now you have another studio in your...
You're controlling the selection.
Right.
And the thing is about understanding the long investment, because it's like, okay, 6 months from now, whatever, 100 people instead of 150 people buy your thing. That is to you $100,000 or $200,000. That's a big, long investment, but you got to have faith. And I think not everyone, some people want results. You're like, no, I want to make a sale, and I might be fired 6 months from now, so I want to get this on my mark sheet. But it just comes down to that, really. We'll start to wrap it up. There was one thing I was going to bring up. I completely forgot now, but yeah. Anyway, but yeah, you were saying before about pricing, like you kind of moving the conversation back to you.
I think we kind of beat that horse.
I was trying to buy some time because I was trying to remember something I wanted to mention. Well,
Now you're talking about food in your mouth.
That's right.
Do you think they'll ever blend all of them together? Or will they replace them with something new?
I've gotten so many people being like, Max, like, I've heard rumors.
The Max, my axe.
Oh, no, I've heard rumors that Max is going to die and blah, 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 like, a lot. And it's just like, this is the dumbest.
Like, can we stop having that conversation?
Yeah.
Like, please, this is me begging to everybody listening.
I'm pretty sure this would be public knowledge now. Like 10 years ago, Discrete was working on something that was the next gen thing. It was very node based. It was very much like Houdini, and of course the whole Alias acquisition. I think I had this confirmed, but like again, I just don't know what I can comfortably say and whatnot. But like basically, I think both companies are working on their own stuff, and it just kind of came down to like, all right, well, we both got cool products. Let's just throw them out and start again. So I wouldn't be surprised at some point, but the problem is that now the economy's going through a lot of shit, and Autodesk love them to death, but they look at their profits. They're looking at, okay, well, CAD is where it's at. M&E, like media and entertainment, like not where our focus is. Mm-hmm. So now it's more about like, all right, just keep afloat, do your thing, but we don't really care as much.
Yeah, if you look at where like which programs bringing in the money and everything, I mean, Max is
it's number one
huge user
top
base.
sale market.
Yeah, well, and it's also like read it, just look at the writing on the wall and just adapt. If it's if Max is no longer cutting it and you can't find Max jobs, like if you're a decent artist, it should take you about a month or so working in a. I came from a Mac studio and I worked at DD and did well in a Maya pipeline, and it took me a little bit of learning, but
it's 3D.
It's 3D. Like some of the core principles, not some of the core principles, all of the core principles are the same. It's just a matter of where are these tools located.
Yep.
So
what if they rename the button to?
Yeah, exactly.
Where is that button?
Yeah. Hypershade or material editor.
Your biggest thing is just adapt.
All for a blend shapes. It's all the same stuff. It's a higher level thinking about the activity than the actual buttons you're pushing. It's always going to change. Whatever you learn now, by the time you finish, will be slightly different anyway.
There's no.
There will be a new plugin that will replace that 4 hours of skill set you have.
Yeah.
Oh, you push a button and you now make. Oh, okay.
Well, I mean, but that's the thing where it's like some people have insecurities about like job security that way. Like, I mean, to me, like fluid dynamics is really interesting and whatever. But like, if they can replace that with a fucking button where I just go boom, like solved and done,
Do right.
do it right and make it cool. Like, I'm all for it because you still the overall thinking of how we do our job. It doesn't take away from. Do you have a good eye? Can you put compositionally a shot together well?
Yeah.
All of that. It's still
Half the skill sets these days are learning how to deal with the quirks and the things wrong with the software.
Yeah.
It's not the actual like doing it right. It's like,
Yeah.
well, this doesn't. So I'll have to do this setting on this bit and put a light back there because then if I do this and if I, but it's not actually like doing it right. And I mean, I don't know if you bumped into it, but the Arnold renderer it's just about when you're trying to teach someone that you're like, well, it's got a couple of lights and a couple of materials and that's it. And they're like, oh, where's all the settings? I'm like, it doesn't have any. It just works correctly. I mean, it takes a long time to render, but if you're a DOP and you're a director of photography and you understand where you put these lights, that's what this thing does. There's no magic behind it. Whereas where I come from is like, oh, okay, well, I can tweak this setting and sit my AA on this, and if I do 3...
Fresnel everything.
But that was part of the skill.
I'm not looking at you, I'm looking at someone else.
But that was part of the skill set I had.
We'll talk. No, I agree.
But that was part of my skill. My training was being able to push and pull and manipulate this system to fake a bunch of stuff, which is being replaced with good quality things these days.
Make it real.
Get in there.
No, it's so true.
Have you guys are you just pushing it slightly towards where most of my life is? Have you guys begun to bump into any VR production yet? Are you thinking about like rendering out spherical stuff and getting into real time? Does it have an influence on traditional VFX people?
I mean, I certainly think a lot about Unreal and getting more into that. I mean, I just want to do my job faster. I like what we do, and any tool that makes me get from point A to point B quicker, I'm going to adopt it. I'm going to throw the other thing out the door like the next day and go with that. And the stuff that's coming out with Unreal looks pretty impressive, and I think it's like coming of age. So it's definitely on my like radar at this point. I mean, in the very early days of augmented reality, Hnedel and I were involved with that, right? You were still there when we were doing some of that.
Oh yeah, it's feature. Yeah.
It was still like so much just a cliche and just super glitchy, annoying stuff. But now it's kind of actually matured into something that.
It's getting it. It's really interesting. It's really just around the corner. Mm-hmm. We've had enough time to work it out.
Yeah,
I think the big thing is most people right now they haven't got their head into it. They don't understand it, and that's why people like you that's what you're making your thing, and it means that like finally when it does become mainstream, it's like you guys fucked up. Like I already cornered this shit, so
yeah,
trying to get out ahead.
Yeah. So
get out of the blocks early. Hopefully, I can stay ahead.
Well, it's always. I mean, a disruptive technology is if you can get in at the right time, just the right time, then
if you can make a wearable VR headset that attaches to your wrist like a watch, bam! Just saying, you nailed it.
Let's start a Kickstarter tomorrow. Put it out there. We'll make $1 million.
Done.
Or $1 billion.
Well, we'll leave it there. But I don't know. Is there any closing knowledge you want to pass on to the people?
AVP.
Always be
Always be pre-com.
I like that.
Actually, it's a good point because like Fred Ruff brought that up last week as well. It's like the number one thing a 3D artist can do is never show your raw renders. Mm-hmm. Yeah. Then he went on to say you do softer focus. No, I'm kidding, but like,
just light wrap. That.
Oh yeah. So we'll leave it there. But again, probably the most random thing I've ever done, but it's kind of fun. Just gonna get some rambling and shoot the shit. Are we going back to Venice?
Let's go back to Venice. We'll finish this off up there.
You guys want to hit a rooftop bar and get your drink on?
I need to go home. We got a bunch of people coming over tonight.
It's Sunday.
That's not the way to finish an interview.
I know.
I'd just be like, hell yeah! Clinking of glasses, cut. Next question.
I got Ryza coming over tonight. I got
right.
prepared for the Billy Goat.
Really good.
I miss that guy. I'll have to visit. Essentially, yeah. One thing I'll touch on for a second is Brandon. I mean, someone who loves climbing and being outdoors and more kind of really wants to escape the ideology of like being in an office 24/7. Like what he's done is he's now managed to secure himself a place working remotely for a big studio doing visual effects, and he gets to live near mountains where he can climb them all day long. I'm pretty sure like to get to his breakfast cereal in the morning, he's got to like climb a kilometer up in the air, and he sits there on a mountaintop and like eats his Fruit Loops or something. But I mean, I don't know, like I'm just curious, like we'll end it here, but like do you guys ever have any of those, like picturing yourself sitting with a mojito in your hand?
Or getting out of the industry.
Or more work, figuring out a way to create the freedom in your career to be able to work remotely somewhere,
I think it's like everybody's dream. Yeah. I haven't talked to any artist who's like,
no,
yeah, I want to go to the studio every day. I mean, everybody's like, yeah, if I can do that.
I don't want to be remote. I think what you do is not what I want to do. I crave other people like too much. That's part of my day to day. What you've done is set up this thing where you can be remote quite a lot, and that's great. But I don't think that's for everyone. I want to go to a place with a bunch of other people and do it that way.
Well, even for me, like I've actually thought a lot about getting like a virtual office, like office space somewhere where, for me, I miss like the few times I go work at studios. Usually they're like, "What made you come here?" And it's like, I was lonely. Like, I'm serious. I'm like, I've been working for myself for a year, and I kind of missed having people around. I just wanted to come and walk out and hang out with people. So
yeah, it also takes a different kind of discipline. Like, my fiance works from home, and the things that the distractions that she's grown used to, is when I worked from home for like a few months, and that was not. It took me a while to get used to it.
Yeah, so. Routine, and also even communication with your partner about like, all right, like I'm at the office right now and I need to focus. You might be comfortable with this, but with me, the headphones are on for a reason.
Yeah,
you're right. Like working from home is a whole other discipline. Like it's difficult. Like I used to get dressed every day, and I'd leave, go have breakfast, I come back, and when I came back in, mentally I was at the office. So there's no Xbox, there's nothing. It's you're there.
I think a lot of it too is like I think a lot of us in this profession have a hard time finding balance, and a lot of that desire to go and be off actually stems from the fact that we have a hard time finding balance. We have other interests, and we would like to pursue those other interests sometimes. But we still really like doing what we do, and then we just like bust ass at it all the time, and then forget to do the other interest, and then we find ourselves like, oh no, but I really want to go mountain bike for 3 months. Wouldn't it be great? But then the reality is like, yeah, it isn't for everybody, and like living out like that on your own. There are some people who are good at it, and have the skills necessary, but
it's the lie we tell ourselves that we love this so much that we'll put up with the 18 hours a day, 6 days a week from day one. But I was talking with a friend of mine recently about, like, when are you going to retire? I'm like, well, I don't think I'm going to. Like, I like what I do. It used to be you retired from working down the mine because it was exhausting and your back's broken, so you need to retire from the thing so you can now, because your body can't take it anymore. But what we do is something which we tell ourselves is a passion and it's fun and whatever else, but it really is. I love what I do. If I didn't, I'd do something else with my days. I mean, I like sport and stuff, but I don't think I could do sport and stuff as a job. I like doing a bit of it because it makes it fun. I'm looking at doing a ski chalet one day, and he was like, well, you love it so much because you only get to do it twice a year, and it's so much of your thing, and you look forward to it. But if it was there all the time, you wouldn't have the same passion for it.
It's kind of like working in an ice cream parlor where they let you take the ice cream home at the end of the night. It's like, no more ice cream.
It's not the same thing. I love doing this job with these people in this way. And I think, especially as being a business owner, is I'm going to continue that until I may die. Or I'll keep changing it along the way because I get the opportunity and stuff.
You will die.
Oh yeah, I'll die. Yeah, I'll die.
No, he's going to upload himself
Until I may
into
die.
virtual reality. This guy's going to be the lawnmower.
Well, I was
man.
saying I may die.
That'd be awesome.
Holding
That's
them.
really what he's doing.
All the phones start ringing.
Shit!
No, I just meant dying at my desk with a mouse in my hand. Like, he died at his desk at work.
Yeah.
But it's not going to be that way. Like it's a passion. It's a passion industry full of entertainment and fun. So we all enjoy it. Otherwise, we'd do something else. I mean, I don't think I'm stuck doing one. I don't think you guys are either. It's definitely a choice to do this career.
Well, you know, there's such thing as like mini retirements, and I think the whole idea of like retiring, most people who retire end up going back to work, or they get bored, and typically, if you'll, sorry, statistics, people tend to die sooner than later if they retire, because I guess you have that you know, entertainment, that will to live, that
Checking out.
day-to-day exercise that you're in many ways, mentally as well as physically. And
My granddad says if you give up on life, it will give up on you.
Morgan
That was
Freeman
his
is an
thing.
old motherfucker right now, okay, and like he's still working.
Yeah.
So, but yeah, and actually, fucking Clint Eastwood, okay, I can rest my case right there.
I think with that we should close it.
Yeah.
Done. Thanks, guys.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, guys, so that is it. So hopefully it wasn't too obvious how blitzed we were, but it was a lot of fun to do. If you want to check out the other episodes, Soul Rogers is episode 24, so just go to allanmckay.com, so ALLANMCKAY.com/24, the number 24. And same with Chad Wanstreet, if you want to check out allanmckay.com/18, I believe it is. And I'd love to get your feedback if you guys want to leave any comments on the blog, or my website, I should say, in regards to what you thought of this. Again, it's so random, but it's something I've actually wanted to do for a while. Just unfortunately, Labor Day weekend and everything else going on, it literally was a free-for-all. So there is us unfiltered and uncensored, literally. But it was a lot of fun to do. So thanks again for everyone who's listened. And also, just to give the links again, if you want to check out the real reviews that I'll be doing on June 17, go to www.allanmckay.com/real review, one word. So real, REEL. And if you're interested in coming to the Industry Drink events in Los Angeles, either this month or in the future, which is a great way to network, great way to meet other people in the industry, whether you're trying to get in or whether you just want to hang out with your buddies and, you know, vent about the big productions that you're on at the moment. Either way, it's a lot of fun. So just go to allanmckay.com/drinks, and that will be this coming Friday, May 29. All right. Thanks again for listening, guys, and I will be back next Monday.